And we're live. How's it going, everyone? The Greenbeard, Havoc, Mad Dog, Down Under Maker. How y'all doing today? Sat here and got, figured I'd change it up for a bit instead of, using someone from the audience. Just generic, what kind of food do you like to eat during the holidays? I said, my partner and I have hey Tom, how you doing? My partner and I have a tradition of, spend some time with us and go and eat Chinese food and watch a movie. And to answer the question you had earlier, Mad Dog, we have the equipment, but you will not get to hear James's wonderful voice this stream because... Okay, he says you won't get to hear his wonderful voice in each stream because his voice isn't wonderful. But you won't be able to get to hear it this stream because we're getting some crackling from the mic, so we have to do some testing. Just find out, hey, is it the computer? Is it the mic? Is it the cable? Greenbeard, I'm happy that you could come out here and join us, even if it's only for a little bit. That sits here, and every little minute helps going towards these streams and everything. Let's see. So Mad Dog, your part's coming in hopefully before the 24th. That'll be good. And let's see here. Greenbeard, not pay. Greenbeard, you've got a printer on a second board as well. I mean, I don't even have a printer, so you're ahead of me so far. Gonna give some people a bit more time to get in here, of course. The Mountain Dew flavor of the day is Baja Blast. So I remember when you couldn't get this at home. You had to go to Taco Bell to get it. Now I can just pick it up. Wonderful. Yep. So, going over, I did get the belt shortened last stream. From last stream. I will say I learned a very valuable lesson for the next time I build a belted Z, and that is, instead of cutting the belt beforehand, I'm going to run one loop all the way through with the belt at full length to get the final length of one of the belts. That way, before I do anything, I can get that one cut and then use that to measure the rest of them, because counting teeth manually, that's a little bit OCD there, took forever. So I'd rather sit here and get the little bit and run everything through and take a bit of extra time there to get one at the length that I want, and then I can use the line them up. Actually, I have some extra belts here. So, yeah, if I can do the line it up and get it off by one tooth and just know where that extra belt is, that would save a lot of time. Down Under, thanks for dropping that reminder in Steve's chat. Yeah, Down Under, I was sitting here thinking about going the YOLO method, but, I was doing some research and it, everywhere that I'm sitting here reading, it's, hey, you want to kind of make sure that these things are the same length so that way they're a bit easier to tension, and anything I can do to make my life easier is great. How you doing, Icon? All right. James is just reminding me to not blind you guys with the wonderfulness that is my belly. Thunder Keys, how you doing? Yeah, so I sat here and went through and got all these to the exact same tooth count, and that I spent about 4 hours on by going through counting the teeth, getting my final counts, and then once I was done counting them all over again. How you doing, projects? Let's see here. So what we're going to be doing today is, we're going to be finishing up. I'm very big on going through and kind of documenting the entire process, trying not to do anything off stream. So, while it's going to make this build take a bit longer, I'd rather, pass on the knowledge. And if I ever need help, the community is great about that. So I've got all you guys in chat. They can sit here and be like, hey, I see you're stuck here. Mad Dog's been reaching out to me because he's been building the 2.4 himself and reaching out saying that he, issues he's run into and everything. Let's see. Google GT2 runner belt runner matcher. Makes the process easier if you have standalone belts. I will have to look that up. But yeah, so, lessons learned. So any of you are building the 2.4, if you're doing your Z's, run one Z first, get the link that you need, then cut that belt, and then use that to get the links of the other belts. It will save you a ton of time, because James can tell you I was here for about 4 hours doing the counting of teeth with a little hour break in between to go get food, because food. But so we're going to continue where we left off. Where we left off last stream, we got our gantry in, we got our belts in, but we had the link, so I got those cut. So our next thing to do, we're going to take here, and I left a little bit extra, just like it says in the manual, so that way we can fold these up and over and get them zip tied to this outer belt, not the inner one, but the outer one. That way, if you ever do need to make a change or anything, or, hey, you decide, what, I'm going to go and change these out from, the printed parts to CNC parts. You have that extra slack, so that way you're not fighting with it, and God forbid, something changes the length and now you don't have enough length. So let's see here. The results of our poll. We've got 9 volts in here real quick. Looks like a lot of you enjoy roast for the holidays. So ham and Chinese food got a nice tie for second place. Okay, so we're gonna grab our zip ties, and then I'm gonna run this down so it's nice and even, because one of the big things you want to make sure of is that the edge of your belts don't stick out too far over the edge of the gantry. That way they won't rub on your enclosure if you have that later. So we're going to just get this around. And Thunder Keys, I'm going to sit here and display that little thing you gave me next stream, because when I went to find it, I found out from my partner that the cat decided that it was a good play toy as well, and knocked it around and knocked it under my couch. So I have to disassemble my couch to get under it. Yeah, Mad Dog, I would definitely think it'd be a bit different over there in Australia, since, it's summer for you guys while it's winter over here. So let's see here. But yeah, no. Now, Thunder, I know you were saying there's a few people that might want to be in chat when I display that next week. If they're here in chat, if you want to let them know, you know, that'd be a nice little interesting thing to see how they react. No, the Thunder Keys, the partner has not threatened separation due to fidgeting yet. She's threatened a hammer and pillows, but not separation. But she's been dealing with my fidgeting for years now. So, all right. So you don't really need to go too tight on the zip tie here. Just tight enough that it kind of holds it in there. And then get your flush cutters. Kind of snip it nice and neat. I'm pretty sure everyone recognizes the flush cutters. It's when they're free and they work, stick with it. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, the design is released on the Voron design printables page. So it's a fun little fidget toy, Thunder. I still have the other one here, and I kept that one here. That way I didn't drive my wife nuts with this one. But yeah, it's a fun little thing. If you enjoy clicking and rotating and snapping, oh, it'll be right up that, hit all those points for people. Okay, so again, don't know how well you guys can see this right now, but we're just kind of tucking it over so that way it gets nice and close, and then getting a general idea of where it's going to lay. And then taking our zip ties, running it around the belt. I find it helps just to kind of get it started. Fold it up. And then tighten it a bit more. And again, doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to make sure that it's out of the way and that it's not going to interfere with any panels, because them wearing up, it's, you know, we already get enough noise with the stepper motors. I don't know about you, but I don't want to hear as something's rubbing up and down those side panels. Ugh. Starting to get some weight to it. I am so happy I didn't put the belt in yet. Or the bed in yet, not the belt. I put the belts in. That's what I'm working on right now. So, hopefully the plan for tonight is, you know, after we get this done, our next step is wiring up the AB belts. And then once we get those AB belts on, we're going to sit here and start work on the tool head. Did some little research beforehand on the tool head, and you know, didn't really find too many people that sat here and did videos on building them and all that. Like, they usually kind of gloss over the tool head that hey, it's a tool head, but they can get pretty complicated pretty fast. So hopefully you guys will stay along and enjoy the ride as we build it. We are going stealth burner on this one, because that's what the kit came with, and it is using Clockwork 2 for the extruder. And then the only change that we have from the Voron design manual on that is the LDO kits use clicky probe. So I've got the kit for that and everything. So we get to modify that little bit of the instruction manual. We've got our 4 belts all kind of looped up there. Nice and out of the way. They're not sticking over the edge, so they're not really going to hit as the gantry goes up and down. So the next thing to do is we want to make sure that our gantry is squared. Now, we did back and forward last stream as we were making sure that we got the gantry mounted to the carriages right. But the other thing that we need to do is check our little X beam to make sure that when we go all the way back, you don't have any movement. So when it's touching your A motor, it should also be touching your B motor. So Mad Dog, yes, I do have zip ties. I think they're actually over by James's side. Yep. But I do have those zip ties, Mad Dog, so to make it a lot easier to get these belts routed when we go through the AB. But so what I'm doing here is I'm just pushing back, listening and looking for any movement on either side. If you have movement, you shouldn't have. Yeah, the XY joint should be somewhat loose, and you just kind of push it and make it so it's even, and then take it and go all the way up to the front, because it should be the same at both front and back, where you don't have any gap. If they're good, go ahead and tighten up your X, which in this case we are good. So I'm going to tighten these up. Should just be 3 bolts. And we are good. So okay, let me get a drink here. So for those of you that do celebrate it, does anybody have any plans next week for Christmas? I believe we're almost done with, either done or almost done with Hanukkah. Okay, James is bringing, we've got those extras. So in the Voron manual, it does give a general overview of the belt path for your AB belts. That's all the first few pages are for. But it also lets you know on these front idlers, you make sure that they are extended all the way. That way, after your belts run and everything, you can tighten them to increase tension. But our next step is we get to sit here and work with some more heat sets. So, James, if we can get some overhead action going on here. We've got our carriage. Let me take and move. Nope, that's not going to be a good spot. Let's move that down there. We've got our 2 carriage pieces. Going through here. We should be like, it's going to mount with the X rail being back behind there. So we need some heat sets, some M3 hex nuts, and we need this little piece. Now, this little piece is going to go on the back side. Now, it looks to be all the same, but if you look very closely, there's actually a flat side and there's a side on the other side with a slight chamfer. When you're putting your heat sets in, you want to go into the non-chamfered side on that one. So we have our little metal piece. Let's see here. Mad Dog, the holidays are going to start. You're going to start tiling the floor of your house. That sounds like a fun holiday project. Tiling is one of those things I never got the hang of. $38 Celsius for a summer, that's actually not that bad. You know, down under in Mad Dog, I think we can appreciate those hot summers that you guys get over there out here in Florida. Yeah. 100 degrees Fahrenheit for those that don't speak the better system, but yeah. Projects you're just trying to get to Friday. Survive the holiday madness and hopefully make it to Friday. Mad Dog, if you're wearing a jumper in 38 degrees, I see a hospital in your future. A moisture wicking jumper, as James puts it. YouTube keeps acting up and telling... Yeah, projects, I have no idea. You know, just as... You know, like I do, it's... YouTube can be YouTube and just decide, we're going to break today. For no reason whatsoever. Down under, that is a very good idea. Yeah, take advantage with what you can, projects. It was the medicine. All right, so we're getting in there. Getting it nice and flush. Look at our metal, making sure that we don't get any of the excess extruding upwards. And then doing it all over again. So we need heat sets on the top holes as well, Thunder Keys. Yeah. All right, I will pull it up here and hold it up close to the camera here and make sure that I'm going in the right ones. Because I think I see the ones that you're talking about, Thunder Keys. Just want to make sure, because These are my only printed parts.
Right.
The section in the Trident is up to date. Okay. Get that. Yeah, there are some, like, as a new builder, there's some things that even I've seen that, you know, could probably use updating. One of my things I was mentioning is whenever it calls out for T-nuts, it calls roll-ins T-nuts, but it calls the hammerheads hammerheads. You know, it'd be nice to sit here and say, hey, because they're both T-nuts, if it is hammerheads, call it hammerheads instead of T-nut, or hammerheads instead of T-nuts, roll-ins if they're roll-ins, and hammerheads if they're hammerheads. That way there's absolutely no confusion. Let me see if I can get that manual here. Gonna pull up build notes, and we'll pull up the GitHub, but we will go, instead of 2.4, we will go to the Voron Trident manuals, assembly manual. Let's just go ahead and download the raw file, because GitHub and PDFs can be quite annoying. Thankfully, for those that don't know, the gantry on the Voron 2.4 and the Trident are almost identical. So far, the real difference I've seen has just been those front idlers. Through here, let's find where it calls out those carriages. Rolling through a manual. Let's see here. This section of the Trident manual is up to date if you want to compare. Thunderkeys, I won't get you on board the train with the T-nuts, or it's just updating the manual in general. Aha, so yeah, it is. So in addition, the Voron manual for the 2.4 calls out just putting heat sets here, but as Thunderkeys pointed out in the Trident one says, you need one here and up here. So we will go ahead and get those in. Thankfully, that's not too hard. And soon, I have another project here. The soldering iron went to sleep on me. Let it heat back up. I already have my next project planned, because, you know, I plan on building quite a few more printers. So my next thing to do is I actually have a Frax arm just waiting to have its parts printed and be built. So that will hopefully make this a lot smoother. Now, I don't, you know, I'd actually like to hear your guys' opinion, because I know for a lot of people, let's see here, down under, CNC mount here. You had the same bug and cleared it after 6 seconds. I think I might, oh, I see what's happening. Hey James, can you change it from top chat to live? I'm missing chat. Give me 1 second here so I can get caught up with you guys. Because for some reason, YouTube likes to default to top chat instead of live chat. So yeah, Thunder Keys, all hammerheads are specifically called out. I realized that later when I went through. But I sat here and can tell you, when I was going, for me, the longest time, it was hammerheads were T-nuts, and because those were the first T-nuts that I ever did, and the roll-ins were a new one, so they were roll-ins. So the first, when I was putting together the frame, and I had the cross gantries that hold the bed in, I sat here and saw T-nuts, and I grabbed hammerheads. Went back through the manual and realized, oh, these are supposed to be roll-ins, changed them out, went back down further through the manual. It's like, oh, okay. So it specifically calls out hammerheads. Oh, the CNC tool head mounts down under. Yeah, those are kind of nice where you don't have to worry about heat sets or anything like that. One of these days, maybe we'll probably upgrade this to CNC. I will say I was watching that video on Vitaly's new rigid metal gantry, and that looks really nice. So who knows? Maybe we'll do that. If I go stealth burner, I know the LDO stealth burner kit comes with a CNC shuttle. So if we decide to go stealth burner on this, you know, that'd be another way to go CNC on the shuttle. I know Havoc recently got the Honey Badger CNC, and that looks very nice from Fabrico. And he's been working on his printer and got his tool head in, and it's coming along very nicely. Havoc, if we're still here, looking good. And Mad Dog, keep the updates coming. The pictures that you're posting look amazing. Okay. So now on this, on our, if you're looking at the carriage, the piece on the right is where your hex nuts go in. Let's see here, down under. I printed the CNC mounting, Cardo mounting in PCCF. Ooh. You know, I haven't really gotten into any of those carbon fiber filaments or anything yet because I don't have a printer that can print them at this point, but it will be nice to get into once I can. And this thing is printed just big enough for that to fit in. So that is a nice, good fit. That is a nice friction fit. Tom, he's here. He's just working on... Is he working on the 2.4 or is he cursing at the 2.4? Yeah, Mad Dog. Those wiring diagrams can... There's so many different ways to do it. So many different boards. You know. They can be quite confusing. Okay, so we have our M3 nuts in here. Now, the iGUS cable chain, we actually... Oh. Now I get to go back to the 2.4. So with this, it wants us to get some M3x12s, socket heads. Ah, so Tom, he's working and cursing at the Voron. Got it. projects. You're making sugar cookies, peanut butter cookies, and molasses cookies. You had to mention the molasses cookies. Oh, and the peanut butter. I am so happy I ate before stream this time. I had a nice little meal at a local restaurant here. It was supposed to come with penne vodka, but they gave me fettuccine instead. But had some nice Parmesan chicken. Let's see. Mad Dog, you're gonna start posting photos of you tiling your floor so the photos will come out right. Hey, it's a project. It's a making thing. So, and I know not everyone can do that. It is, well, they can learn. Like James just sitting here saying he hates tiling. I sat here and have some holes in my wall where a shelf fell down because my partner, I put the shelves up for like knickknacks, and an entire library ended up going on it and fell off the wall. And so now we have some holes in the wall. And do I have the knowledge on how to fix it? Yeah. But I also know me. I have ADHD. I'm going to sit here and get the project started. 3 months later, there's still going to be a hole in my wall. And I'm just going to hire someone to sit here and fix my wall. Okay. So what I'm doing here now, I'm just taking our calipers, and we need 3 millimeters because that is how far they want these little screws to protrude from the front face of the carriage. And my OCD is not letting me go without getting 3 on the dot. There we go. So, what it wants, from the face of this to the underside of the head of the screw here, it wants a 3 millimeter gap. Now you are going into plastic here. So as you're going in, you don't want to go too far because you can only screw in and out of plastic so many times before it goes. The whole subchat thing is killing you. We might say, Dave, we might try next stream without the subchat. Huh. James just made it so subchat's off, so we'll sit here and see if we get any of those pesky little bot spammers coming into the stream. If we do, we might have to turn it back on, but we'll try it. But other than that, Armor, it's going pretty well tonight. We are working on getting the carriage mount together. So we got our 3 millimeters there. And now we get to do it on the other one. Yeah, Armor, before I started streaming on YouTube, we tried some test streams on Twitch. And I kid you not, we'd been live for like 5 minutes and the bots already came. But we'll try leaving it off, because if we can sit here and get this without the bots, it makes it so much nicer, because I always love being able to talk to people. And while I do like the subs and, want them, and, just a reminder, We're a bit of a ways off. Last I checked, we were at 65 subs. You know, if we can get to 100 subs by the end of the year, so we have one more stream. You know, I'm gonna sponsor a filament giveaway myself. Let's see here. Armor, what are you talking about? I've chatted there several. Mad Dog, are you a bot? He could be a transformer, be an Autobot. Be kind of cool to be an Autobot. All right. And we've got our 3mm there, so we have our nice carriage, 3 bolts sticking out 3mm. And then our next step is to get one side of this here, but okay, this is where it gets a bit interesting. Can't really clamp both sides in because I want to get one side measured first while it's routed, and then get the other side measured in. So that way I can cut the belts then to get them equal length. Let's see. Ah, Mad Dog, your son calls you a bot when you play COD? Oh yeah. James has a little button that he sat here and spent a little time. Oh, switch over that. James was really proud of the button he made.
It's not a.
Okay, James was proud that he figured out how to do this without a guide or anything like that. So he wants to show you. He wants to show you the funny button he made. He literally made a button to do that. Sometimes we have too much free time on our hands. Okay. Yep. Nope. Projects is now a 3D printed cyborg. He is partial filament. Okay. We're gonna take this. Just gonna give a nice little dry fit. But what we need to do is find out how long our belts need to be. Hey Pat, no problem with being late. The big thing is you're here. And that's what matters, you know. We all have different things that we need to do. You know, I don't feel entitled to your time. I'm just glad that you can come and enjoy spending time with us. Mad Dog, so now he needs to make a like button. Oh, Mad Dog, you've made the wheels turn in his head. Okay. So now I get the fun part of figuring out this belt path. So they give you a general overview in the beginning. James, you need to speak up and say that. No. Okay. So, with this, going through here, apparently. All right, where are... a nice little trick for getting belts routed. Mad Dog brought this up to me, and I had originally learned this like he did from Mandic, who... Mad Dog, I'm terrible with names. I know you remember the person, but if you can put their name in chat, who gave Mandic the idea of this. If you can get a flat piece of plastic in here, it actually makes getting these belts routed a bit easier, because then you can use the plastic to create friction. Yeah, Mad Dog, I'm trying to avoid the cut it in half thing at first, because I want to sit here and save as much belt as possible, because I don't have things like extra belt or anything like that yet. So that would be, having extra belt and everything could be quite useful for me. Here. So carry green. Yeah, people actually read manuals nowadays, especially when it comes to these things. Because they can get quite complicated. So, if you ever run into something like this where, we're trying to feed it in through here, getting yourself a nice thin little piece of plastic, you can run it in, such as a zip tie, and you can run it in along that plastic and use that plastic to kind of pull it through and guide it on the path you need. We're just going to feed this in partially and try to get, and there we go. You can see, pulled that in, and that just kind of pulled it through. Now, this is where we need to be careful, because on this belt path, Mike, the hair tie color today is a purple and gold. Yep. I've been trying to change it up every stream, and this week it's purple and gold. Okay, so with this one, if you look, let me see if I can get a good view of this. Yep. Let's see here. So if you guys can see here, I know it's kind of hard with the black light. There's a place where it sticks out on the bottom on this one, and an indent at the top. That's letting you know on the top one, you can go straight across. The bottom one, you do not want to go across. So, since we're working on the top belt right now, this is just going to go straight across. And I know, based on other streams I've watched, it is kind of hard to see. Unfortunately, I also don't have a nice close-up cam here. So with this one, we're going to go around the top, but I'm looking at something here. I did. I got rotated. So another thing that you can keep an eye out to make sure that you're going the right direction with your belt is if you get to a tooth pulley and your teeth are not facing the pulley, your belt's been flipped at some point. So we're just going to run back through this. Pull our pulley out. Give us some slack here. Run our little zip tie. And then since this is a smooth pulley, the back side of the belt should be against this pulley. So what that means on this top belt is our teeth should be facing the extrusion. Let's see here. But I print some penguin hair ties just for the stream. You know, I would not be opposed to it. Big thing I would be thinking of is, you know, getting an actual TPU that could sit here and go in hair, but would not like completely rip my hair out when I took it out. That'd be the tough thing. Let's see. But yeah. But Mike, was it you that sat here and suggested the different hair tie every stream? Because believe it or not, so far I've stuck to that. Now, something that I've learned by watching other people, on this one, it can sometimes be easier to pull it through and then feed it back in. The big thing that you need to be careful of when you're doing this is when you come back out, that you actually go around the right way. So in this case, when I'm coming out, we go in here around this pulley and then here. It's very easy to come out through this hole and then you'll go over this little piece, which that is the side that's not indented. And then you're rubbing up against a part that you're not supposed to. You've changed the length of the belts. And so everything will be wrong. One of these times I might do a hair clip. Pat? Yeah, we could print. Hair clips would be a lot easier to do than hair ties. Okay. We've got that. Now we're gonna keep going through here. And we rotate this around. So, from everything I understand, these front idlers, sit here and get this shifted over some. These front idlers are where the nightmare of these belts happen. This being crooked? That doesn't matter right now. We don't have... This thing can move up and down all at once right now. If this thing's not entirely flat, that doesn't matter because it's all square to each other right now. So, let's take a look and see. With this, we are going to go... There are two holes here. One that's right up against the extrusion and the other one here. And what we've got to do is get it in here around the pulley and back out. Now, again, the zip tie with like a little bend in it. We can sit here and try to get this to go part of the way, or the other thing we can do is, because this zip tie is nice and thin, we can kind of, once we push this in here, it actually wants to sit here and come out the side, and then that'll let us follow through. But I'm going to grab a nice tiny... Yeah, Mike, if you go back and watch the streams, if you can see it, there has actually been a different color hair tie every single stream, and so it's a fun little thing to do. I think I've got one more color before I have to start going shopping. Okay, so I'm just using this zip tie here to push through and kind of come through the edge. That way, as I feed this through, I can kind of get caught on that zip tie and then go through here. Now, I can't do it that way because we want to go on the outside of the belt, and I had routed it to the inside. So, gonna kind of keep trying to feed this through here. This really is a bit of a nightmare to get done. But perseverance can get us through. Hey, LTX Designs, how you doing? Thanks for showing up. All right, so I've got that there. Let's see if we can get this to kind of guide itself through. We partially have. That way it's not working. So we're going to use this zip tie to get us back in here. Apparently zip ties and screwdrivers are the tools of the trade to use. I'm just trying to get this come through here. Now apparently there's one of these ways that's easier to do than the other. I have a feeling I went the difficult way. No, I'd never do something the difficult way. No, Never. Me make something harder on myself? You got the wrong guy. Okay. Ooh. You know, I'm jealous of the guys that could sit here and just do this and make this look easy. Because all of you that look at this on stream and be like, oh yeah, what are you struggling for? That's super simple. It's a lot harder than it looks. There we go. Well, I got it in finally. Now the question is, yep, we are up there. Now I'm just trying to get everything lined up on the pulleys it should be. And I'm going to get it kind of overlapped. That way we have a little bit of extra. And I'm gonna reach out to the community on this. Do you think an overlap that goes just the width of the carriage should be enough to give it a cut? Or do you think I should go longer? Here. Well, James, if you can actually give me a view. I can't see. Are we around the top pulley right there? Okay, we're around the top one there. We're around the top one there. We're coming up top there. We are on the pulley there. Oh, the Reverend, it gets easier after the 20th printer. I'm hoping it gets a lot easier before then. But yeah, what do you guys think? Just a little bit of overlap and then we should be good to cut, or? Because right now I have it ending at the edges of the carriage. Do you think that that's a good enough, should give us enough slack, or should we go a bit further? So now, Doc, I haven't even started to finish. I haven't even unrolled the entire thing yet. So with this, I should have enough. So if you think a little bit more, we can do that. And then we will give it a cut right here. At this point, I know that no matter what, I've got enough slack to go past the carriage. So now, all that we just did, we're going to undo. And this time we're going to do the belt lineup method instead of me counting teeth, because that was a nightmare. And so I know that the belt that we're cutting is this back belt. It's 1 tooth above. So wherever this ends, as long as we make sure that the teeth line up as we guide them, I know that it's going to be a little bit below there. We're just lining up here. Continuing down. And as long as those teeth stay interlocked, we know we have tooth for tooth, the same amount of teeth. Gonna untangle the belt as we're doing this. Let's see here. But yeah, so once we get this all done, I can sit here and get the excess belt cut if we have any, but we shouldn't have too much excess belt, so that should give me a bit more of a belt in case I mess up. I possibly have enough length for another belt, or if I don't mess up, then I have a spare belt, hopefully, sitting around if something never goes wrong. Oh, projects. You're teasing me with the molasses cookie dough? James, I think we need to make molasses cookies. We can get my partner to make them. He has a pretty good recipe. All right. We're almost to the end here. All right. So I know that since our belt started one higher, I need to go to the one right below the one that finished. So this is our point. And we now have extra and a pretty nice let's see here. Still about 2 meters of belt left over. So yeah, that should be enough that if we mess up, we have extra belts, because yeah, one of these belts is about 2 meters, so that we should have enough in this kit to make 3 belts. So now that we have this and we know they're the same length, we can get them kind of lined up. So let me go ahead and put the calipers away because we don't need those anymore. I'm going to put the spare belt off to the side so they don't get so it doesn't get mixed up. You were attempting to make Kolotsky yesterday. You know, Mike, you got to post pictures of these things. I'm pretty, if Grant Stream is anything to go on, we all like talking about food. Yeah. So what went wrong when you were making the Kolotsky? If you don't mind sharing with everyone. Mike, did you burn them? Okay, I'm going to try something a bit different this time. I'm going to try taking the annoying one and pushing through Let's see here. Ah, they all opened up. Okay. Well, hey, now you know for next time. And that's how we learn. Yeah, the dough on those, from what it looks like, can get quite thin. And hey, we made it through. That was a lot easier. John Doe, belts means it's getting exciting. I think I'm sitting here starting to understand what, why people are like, oh, the 2.4, it's, a hard, I haven't built I'm going to start by saying I've never built a Trident. But a lot of people say, the Trident's the easier build of the two. And so far from what I can see, I think the belts are the main reason, because these are annoying. Getting through and I've got to redo that belt, because that is a smooth idler, and I should not have the teeth up against the smooth idler. So that went in backwards. Thankfully, I have this nice thin hex driver that can get into some very small spaces. Oh, well, that's a new one. I started guiding it up the extruder. The extrusion. Havoc, you've got your wiring done? Yeah. Does that mean that there's less cursing coming out of your house now? Or more? I would say, Mad Dog, are you offering an expenses paid trip to Australia? I'll come sit here and get a passport and do wiring. And there we go, one belt through. Leave this below. This is going to come this way, so this is our bottom one. So we have the one. Now I'm going to reverse do this the other way, because it is a lot easier to sit here and wire and push these things through than it is to pull them. So for anybody that's doing this for the first time, it is so much easier just to be able to push to get your belts through. than it is to try and do the zip tie method. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to, since it wants us to put the carriage on this side, I'm going to get that idler done first. And then honestly, wire this one all the way back up through. That way I can get them here, but I've got those front idlers, which are up so far from what I've seen, the biggest pain on this thing to belt up. Let's see here. Mike, you use a small pick. That actually would probably work very well. Unfortunately, I don't have a small pick. But see, one of the things that I have learned from doing this, and you know, Down Under and projects and armor, you know, probably already know this. As you're doing the stream, you learn about new tools, and then there goes your budget. Yeah, it's like, hey, this tool would be very helpful. And it's like, yes, it would. Cool. Like I sat here before stream started. I sat here and made a Home Depot trip and spent $130 just on little tools and knickknacks. Just to get now, some of it was things I needed, like, for instance, on this one, the standard Voron build calls for an Voron inductive probe. With the LDO kits, they actually use clicky probe. So since we're going clicky, I needed some CA glue or super glue or cyanoacrylide to sit here and glue some magnets in. And that was not something I had handy and sitting around, so had to pick some of that up. So some of this was just, you know, necessary parts of the necessary tools of the build, but other things are like files that I didn't have sitting around that I can sit here and make things like adjusting part tolerances easier. And so, and of course, since we're doing the clicky probe, the other thing I needed was I needed some way to press the magnets into the printed parts. And Down Under, I think before the next printer build, I'm going to make sure I have a lazy Susan, because yeah, when I started seeing that on Steve's channel, I'm like, that's genius. Howie, no problem being late. You know, you're here, and that's what matters. You know, you came and decided to join us for the stream. Hey James, can you do me a favor? That little thing that fell off on the side earlier, the other one is the other side of this, and I need that. No, James just told me I need to get wrecked. Thank you. Okay, so what it's having us do is, once we put the carriage on, it wants a little slack to come up here in the middle. Not too much, but a little bit. So what I'm going to do here Kind of wrap that around and see how many teeth stick out there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 teeth sticking out is our number. Let's see here. A 3D printed Lazy Susan. That would be pretty nice. Now, of course, I do all that counting. And what did I not make sure I had? My screwdriver ready. Okay. Did my hex driver grow legs, or did it come up under the printer? It came up under the printer. Let's see here. Let's see here. You want to build your Lazy Susan. The ones you, but of any size, are silly expensive. Yeah. Let's see here. Mad Dog, James is drinking Liquid Death Dead Billionaire. Which is there anybody here that knows the story behind how it got to be known as Dead Billionaire? How will you picture James as a pistachio person? He says cashews. There's so many of these things that as I'm doing them, it's like, I wish I had another hand. So yeah, Liquid Death, it's Mad Dog, it is canned water. That's what it started off as. But you know, instead of being in a plastic bottle that you know, you can recycle, but you can only recycle so much depending on what it's out of. It comes in an aluminum can, and they gave it a name, Liquid Death. It made water exciting. Well, yeah, their line is it murdered your thirst. So the Dead Billionaire came about because the flavor of the Dead Billionaire is half lemonade, half tea, but it's still like a water. Yeah, it's a flavored water type thing. Well, the half lemonade, half tea, you know, there's a famous golfer, Arnold Palmer, who that was his drink of choice. Well, when they tried to name it the Liquid Death Arnold Palmer, the family that owns the rights to the name and everything got up in arms. So they sat here and said, yeah, they didn't want it associated with the word death. So Liquid Death got creative and said, well, cool. We won't call it Arnold Palmer. We'll call it Dead Billionaire. Because that's what he is now. So let me make sure that my teeth are the same here. Okay, we're good there. Now I just need to sit here and get this lined up with the proper hole, and then I get to do it all over again. Okay. Let's see here. Plastic coating. So yeah, there is a bit of a plastic coating inside of aluminum cans, John. But the aluminum can be...
The plastic.
yeah, the aluminum is infinitely reusable. Yeah, but plastic, there does get to be a, unless you're talking ABS, there can get to be a point where, hey, it just can't. Let's see. So James has no problem with tap water. Where I live, we have very hard water. Yeah, to the point where like I sit here and have to descale my cat's water bowl at least twice a month because the water just sitting there will leave calcium deposits.
As a
And James is a huge fan of this of Liquid Death, and he wanted to let you know that as of 2024, you can actually buy it in Australia at 7-Eleven. Yeah, if you have a 7-Eleven near you. All right, getting that tightened in. And now I know the belts on this side have the same amount of teeth showing for both the A and the B belt. And I know these belts have the same amount of teeth, so once I get these pulled through all the way, I will know how far to pull it through on the other side. Hey James. I was trying for you guys, but he's going through a whole explanation behind the scenes. Okay, so what he's saying is if you don't like carbonated water, make sure you get the non-colored bottles of liquid. Yeah, so you'll see like a color for like the labeling, that's fine, but like the top half of the cat will be white or silver. Yeah, so the flavored one is gold. I believe the standard Liquid Death is just yeah, it's an all white can. But the colored ones are carbonated, the non-colored are not. Flint water. I'm not familiar with that, but apparently James is. No.
Also,
Whew, that's quite a bit of excess that I had there, so. Oh, wait. No, it might be less. I've got to get around this to. Let's see here. Flint water. All the color of tea with none of the flavor and twice the lead. It'd be pretty sweet water then. Yeah, I mean, you go back long enough, lead used to be a sweetener. Before we knew better. So yeah, Mike, we have looked into getting a PO box and everything. The plan right now is January to get one. That way, new year, you know, if this takes off and we have to start a business and all that, it can all be there. Well, if there's a lot of lead in it, it'd definitely be heavier water. Oh, Mike, James just gave you a badumps. Okay, so this time, oh, down under. I definitely need to get. I definitely agree with you. I definitely need to get that Lazy Susan. That was a genius move on Steve's part of getting one of those. So one thing I have learned is a little trick. As you're doing your ABs, if you do have trouble, like you're going from this way, feed it up through this hole and then back down. The only thing you need to make sure of is as you're pulling tight, you get it down around that pulley, but it's a lot easier to get it around that pulley doing it that way. Got that. This one just comes straight over and up on through. I'm gonna rotate again. Ugh. You guys get to hear the wonderful grunts and groans of an out of shape guy trying to lift stuff. It must sound so appealing. Okay, so we've got that in there. Now I just need to get this to come down so it sits around. That bottom pulley. Making sure that the belts are the same length. That way when I pull everything tight, it kind of tightens them up. And it also kind of helps me see if anything is slack anywhere. I know that I might not have something on the right path. So something might be off a pulley or everything, because we know that these two belts were the same length. Let's see here. A universal. That actually sounds cool, like a universal depinning tool. Let's see here. So right now I'm just trying to figure out where, if anywhere. So that's nice and tight. We look good there. I think we have hit all the right pulleys. Let's see here. Let's see here. John Doe, your tap water works great, but you have an expensive reverse osmosis system. Push it through the sand. Yeah. You know, it's the John, I don't know if you're in the States or somewhere else, but I know here in the States, you know, you get some places where it's, hey, you have treated water, or even, hey, they take salt water treat it. Like I know up in Maine they're doing that. In Tampa, Florida, they're doing that. Where they take salt water, they desalinate it, treat it, and then send it out. But then you have other places where it's, hey, you know, you get a well, yeah, whatever you get is what you get. Then you're having to treat it yourself on property. So it's all sorts of different standards for everything around everywhere. Okay, so let me scroll down in our manual here. It's on us, and this is, let me see here. So this was the point that I was pointing out earlier. James, can you bring the manual up? No. Okay. So if you look where this belt comes around, the top's half on there has a cutout and the bottom has a protrusion. When you're feeding your bottom belt, you want to make sure that you don't get over this extrusion on either side. So on one side is on the bottom, the other side's on the top, because they're different ways. So make sure that you're only allowing your belt to run past the side that's indented, not over the side that's farther out. Like you can see here where this is the path that they're doing, where this part up here on this side is actually the part that's out, and that's the one that the belt goes through. So you don't want to accidentally come around this tooth pulley, come out here, and then over to the belt, because it's apparently very easy to do. I almost did it. I've seen Nero do it. I've seen Steve do it. So just be very careful when you're doing that to make sure that you're not going over that. This is going through here. Our next thing to do is get our second carriage side on. Let's see here. We highly recommend filters if you're doing a reverse osmosis system. John? I mean, even without it, sometimes just filters are just a good recommendation overall.
So
Yeah, James is saying the water that we have here at the studio, we've got a saltwater softener. And then, how many filters? 3 filters. 3 filters before it even hits the tap. Yeah. So even without reverse osmosis, filters are just a good idea for water anywhere.
water. It just
James really cares about his hair, and so hard water for him is like the worst thing in the world. Right now we're just lightly tightening these. We don't want to go all the way because we want to be able to make it so that we can still pull our belts through. And like for instance, this one, as careful as I was, I need to pull our bottom belt a little bit tighter here. So what we're going to do here now is we're just going to loosen these so that they kind of grip on those little teeth that are behind there. And pull these through. So yeah, John, that's one of the great things if you have soft water. Less soap needed to get the same amount of suds and clean. Hey Killa, how you doing? Got to catch your stream earlier today with Steve. The printer is coming along very nice. For those of you, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows about it, but you know, Killa's been building an LDO Delta Flyer with Steve on stream, and they are turning out, it is turning out amazing looking. So if you haven't watched his streams, definitely go out and check them. I know Projects is going to be building one of those himself soon. Yep. Killa, I can't wait for that to be done, because it's, you know, I'm getting some hype with you finishing it, because you know, it always feels great when a build gets complete. All right, how are we doing with, that's a pretty good tension. I'm just going to tighten these things down. That way they can't back out, because we are even on our number of teeth that are sticking out. So since we're even on the number of teeth on this side, we're even on the number of teeth on this side. We know we have the exact same amount of teeth on both belts. Let's see here. Oh, Killa, if I won the Delta Flyer, that would be, you know, that'd be awesome. But if anybody here wins it, that's great, because it sits here in Ace Community. If I end up winning it, you know where you'll get to see it. Yeah, Mike, you just have to just show up and watch his stream. I know you were there today, Mike. Down Under, if you won one of those, I'm jealous. Okay. So we need some M3 by 30s. And these are going to go into the top and the bottom of these carriages. We do need to screw them down, but we don't want to go super tight. All I'm doing is I'm going through. We've got a little bit of plastic that I think we're threading into. But I'm keeping an eye on those M3 nuts that we have on the other side. So I can say, based on my research, Mad Dog, international shipping is really, can get really tough. But I was trying to find a filament maker that, you know, might have a place that could do it. Because if we hit that 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so, you know, we have this stream and next stream, or those, and then if we hit it, the stream after that, we'll be doing a giveaway for filament. But finding someone that goes everywhere, that, you know, it can be nice and easy and convenient to get it shipped out internationally, is a lot harder than I would have thought initially. Because originally I sat here and was thinking, oh, Polymaker ships everywhere. And yeah, they do. Unfortunately, I can't do something like buy a gift card on Polymaker's website and give it out internationally, because while the money's good everywhere, people in the UK and Australia don't have a local Polymaker site. They have to go through a reseller. So it gets quite interesting trying to get that done. All I'm doing is I'm trying to get that hex nut to bite on this screw. Let's see here. Got a proud dad. Down under, that is awesome. Having your 4-year-old already checking out that center of gravity and all that. You got a smart kid on your hands. Yeah, down under, I'm hoping that global selling comes soon, because that will make self-funded giveaways so much nicer. Okay, this is not wanting to catch. There we go. I think I just felt it catch. There, yep. Just took a little bit of squeezing to make it through. And there we go. Now I know that one's catching. So it does say don't tighten those all the way. Let's see here. Oh, during Joel's charity stream, they had said that they're working on the international. That would be nice, just to be able to, like, you know, hey, cool, a maker wants to do a giveaway stream. Instead of having to do the Polymaker thing, it's where you have to go through Polymaker to do the international. I could just sit here and buy a gift card here in the States, send you the gift card code, and there you buy it in Australia, like Down Under Makers, or the UK, or I don't think I've seen much of an African audience. Or, you know, maybe Spain or France or Germany. Giving the meters for a free spool, but giving that away costs the winner is about as much as the cost of the spool and shipping in most countries. Yeah. Shipping's the enemy. But unfortunately, those people have to make money too, so they can pay the people that work for them. Okay. So now it wants us to pull tight. Now, something I'm going to look up here real quick. We're going to go over here. Yep. We'll just go to West 3Ds and get the GitHub from there. Because one of the things I bought when I bought this thing is I read so much about how belt tension is so important. I went and bought one of the PF Makes belt tensioners from West 3D. So, big screen on the computer again, James? Yeah, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Who knows? Maybe we can get a stream deck and I can hit it over here soon. Quiet, you. So, with here, our Voron AB belts, we are EPDM belts, so we want to be between 1.9 and 2.3 on our tension on the meter. So, you know, I've got this pulled pretty tight. They do feel fairly tight here. Now, this was what I was talking about earlier on GitHub with their manuals. So for the AB, I believe it wants at least 150 millimeters. But let's double check and make sure. So position your Z-axis, so 150 millimeters or more. Tension the Z belts is the same. All steps 5 through 9 for AB belts. Well, I think I might have found a problem. Oh, are we up here? Tension for AB. Okay, there we go. So we want 150 millimeters or more. So we'll grab our little ruler. We definitely have more than 150 millimeters up there. So all I'm going to do here real quick, I'm going to move us back and forth, side to side, kind of let those belts settle in before we do anything. So we're going to take our little tension meter, put it on here, and I found just giving it some taps like that, kind of let it settle in. And for this, we want between 1.8 or 1.9 and 2.3. So we're currently just above 1.5. So we actually should be able to just pull some of that slack out of our AB belts. Maybe we can get another tooth or two. One tooth. Here's our second tooth. So we're just going to, that's getting pretty hard to pull through. So I'm going to tighten those back down again. Now that we got that tightened, let's check and see. Let's run it through everything, because we did just make an adjustment. So we want to make sure that those belts are kind of evening out on us. That did bring us up a bit, but it is not enough. So we're actually going to tighten our AB idlers to do that, but let's go back to our manual. Because they want us to tighten everything down now. Tighten that. Finger tight, because yep, even this tightening up, that's going to bring those sides together. So that could change our belt tension. Let's see here. No, I haven't booked for doing the drag chains. So far, these belts have been their own a big enough pain in the butt. So down under, if you're telling me those drag chains get even worse, ooh. And actually, now that we tighten those, yeah, you can see how it's kind of jumping around there. It went from almost 2 to 1.7. So it's manuals going through and telling us, hey, make sure that you're not doing. Now, the next part, let's go ahead and get our tensions kind of set, because did it tell us to cut those extra? Fully tighten the belts. Make sure they're all. Check your work. And then put the probe in. But did I misreading something, or did it actually never tell us to? Same total length, the belt pass of the small amount. No, fully tightened carriage belts, but it never actually mentions cutting our belts over here. Now I know I happen to have way too much belt there, so we are gonna give those a cut. Now, down under maker, you know, projects, Killa, all of you that have built these before, we would just want to go ahead and snip that flush with the carriage, or do you want to give it a bit of extra slack? Because I've seen both ways, but I know if I don't give it some extra slack, if I ever need to kind of pull on those in the future, that's going to make it really hard. So let me go and kind of push those back a bit. But yeah, we can leave those for a bit. All right. All right. So the next thing it's having us do is it's just roll them up. Kind of like that, just a bit smaller. We'll just get those rolled for now. That way they're not flapping around. The Voron manual has us doing an inductive probe, Voron probe. So Reverend, we're not using the Voron, but we are doing clicky probe. So I've got the parts because that's what the kit came with. So it comes, the LDO kits come with an entire little separate bag, all for the parts and everything you need for Clicky Probe. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to give James a nice little break. And I'm going to move some stuff around. We're going to take the printer off the table. Got our nice little surface and dust. I happen to have our Clicky Probe pages already up here. Now for the Clicky Probe, I'll tell you, this is my first time ever going through, and down under this, I'll agree with you. Yeah, this could definitely be improved on how you get around on the Clicky Probe, even just for doing it. You know, I've heard other things about getting it set up in Clipper and all that, but just finding the instructions for, you know, hey, you've got the printed parts. Now where are the instructions? It's, you know, oh, going through here and then, oh, yep, that's the one that looks like the one I have. So I'm doing regular clicky. So you click there, that brings you to another page. So, you know, if we were to click here, regular clicky brings you to this one, which, you know, shows you all the parts that you need to print. And then it shows you how to assemble just this piece. But then it's, hey, if you're doing the AB stealth burner mounts, now you have to click here to go to a completely different set of instructions. Which, you know, I can see it from both sides, because having, you know, the little first clicky, the putting in the little Omron micro switch sensor there, if that's the same on everything, having one page to do that is nice. But when we come down here, it almost seems like the only other thing is the AB mount. So why not just continue the guide right there? But we're going through here. Icon, you're saying you hate the clicky? Yeah. So down under, I am eventually, you know, just because I need to start with clicky because that's the sensor and everything that I have with this kit. But going to a Cardo, it's definitely on the plans. But until I get this printer up and running, I have to go with what I have, because I also don't have a printer that can print like a new carriage or anything like that, so I can get the Cardo installed and all that. So with this, we are going to start with our micro switch. We have this little piece which our micro switch goes into, and then we should have some itty bitty self-tapping screws. And when I say itty bitty, they are itty bitty. And I believe that's it. Oh, one thing that's cool, they send you, LDO sends you a drill bit that is the 1.5 millimeter in diameter, in case you need to drill out or make a hole bigger for something to fit. So that's cool. So, hey Papa Waketh, how you doing? We're just sitting here. You came in at the perfect time. We just started building a Clicky Probe. Let's see, you're down under. You're having more fun wrestling with beta hardware that's definitely not ready for sale, but they already sold pre-orders. Then you'll have to have the dregs and Clicky. Yeah. I can't wait for revision C or revision E of the 2.4 kit to come out, where they're just like, you know what? No more Clicky. You get Cardo with it. That's going to be a nice little thing. So with this, you look here on the printed part. I don't know if this is going to show up. There's a little arrow here. You want to line up the actual switch with the arrow. Now, if I'm correct, I think we also have to break off the arm on the micro switch. Let me read through here real quick. That's the dock body, clicky probe. Here. So yeah, bill of materials is one micro switch with the lever removed are recommended. So we need to remove this arm. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to squeeze it, because while I can just break it off, I prefer not breaking things if we don't have to. And there we go. We did it without breaking it. Yay! So then when we put this in, it just sits down. And if you notice, after I put that in, it lines up with our little arrow there. So that's how we know we got that in the right way. Let's see here. Let's see. Pop away is easier for most folks. Oh, pop away? Okay. All right, that's nice to know. Pop away. And yeah, down under, I've seen Mad Dog Seaboard where it came with the Cardo. And yeah, I can't wait till the LDO kit update for revision D, or no, revision E, where they sit here and update us to that. After we get that in, we need to get our magnets in. And so with this is one of the reasons I sat here and got to spend $130 at the hardware store today. Because one thing I did not have was a vise. And so, you know, can you sit here and put this together without a vise? Yes. Does something to press the magnets in so you can make sure that your fit is proper help? Also yes. Now, I think, woohoo! I finally found a screw small enough that I can actually use the LDO driver. So we have some self-tapping screws. We are going into plastic, so you don't want to really crank down on these. You just want to kind of get them so that they're touching the micro switch and holding it in without really yanking down. So as Steve would put it, no ugga-duggas. Hey Shrimp Father, how you doing? Glad you can make it. So now that we have that piece in, we have this little press kit that makes it so that you can actually get it into, say, a vise or a pair of pair of parallel pliers. So that one. So on the, this is the side that actually gets picked up and down, and the legs of the switch pop away are actually going to be making contact with the magnets that are in here. And on the other half, when we get into this one, the wire comes up and in, and yeah, the magnets actually kind of hold the wire in. That way, when this thing comes over, it just picks it up. And the magnets are actually what makes the contact. So yeah, right now, Papa, we are working on the switch side because that's step one on theirs. And you know, I know myself, I have ADHD. If I sit here and skip this step, if I don't have games to remember, which, you know, James also has ADHD, so going through, we can't have no way to keep track of it. We're going to come back later and be like, okay, now let's get clicky working. I seem to be missing pieces. So they also make, for the clicky probe, this little magnet insert piece that you can then grab the matching little piece, and that can push in the magnet slowly as you're clamping it down. But one thing we do want to do is, whichever way we have our magnets, we want two of them to be one way and the third to be the opposite way. Let's pull out our magnets. And what we're going to do is I'm going to grab a little Sharpie here. Where did my Sharpie go? The printer is going under the table. I'll be right back. Sharpie acquired. So all I'm going to do is, since there's nothing really on these magnets to sit here and tell us what side is what, I'm just going to put a mark on one side of these magnets. That way I know when I go to put them into this thing, which side is which. And then, even though I don't need this side yet, I'm going to mark the top one instead of marking them all. That way when I go to do the other one, I know which one is the side that's marked, and I'll have that for when we do the other side of the probe. So, you know, I have never seen anyone actually use this tool before. Usually they sit here and, from what I could see, get confused on how it's used, which probably is going to happen to me, and give it up and just put the things in and say, look, we got it done. So, but we're going to try to do it the way that they say it should be done. And if we find that that doesn't work, we've learned a lesson. And that's one of the big things I want to get to pass on here is, you know, teaching and learning lessons. So with this, this goes in here with the screws out. And if we take this, we can line this up. And did I grab? I did. There are two of these. One of these is for this one, which, yep, that lines up with that one. And the other one is for the other side. So I put them back in my Quickie Pro bag. Nope. Yep. I will actually be right back as I sit here and try to find this piece that I've been missing. All right, we're back. I found it. It tried to make an escape. Didn't get very far. But as you can see, no, you can't see. This is the one that I put him in mistakenly. And then the other one is the other piece. They are slightly offset from each other. You can see how the magnet's further to the left on this side and further to the right on the top one. But since we have those, we can now use those because we know now that this solitary one needs to have our marker side up. And these other ones go with the equivalent of the marker side down. Got those there, and again, we're just going to take and mark our magnets with a little marker on top so we know which side was our marker side. So now this time when I put this on there, yeah, that lines up. And this is going to go like this. And if all goes as planned, we should be able to take our press and get those magnets pressed in there. And that actually worked a lot smoother than I thought it would. That just slid right in. They're nice and flush with the top. And you can really tell when it goes in there, it just kind of presses, and all of a sudden, boop, and it's done. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see, if you guys can see it, but if you look right on the insides of both of these, you can actually see the legs of our little micro switch making contact with our magnets. So the last step is we're going to check continuity. So for continuity, I'm about to show you guys a very old multimeter. But the great thing about multimeters is they tend to just, if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. So this is quite an old multimeter. But all we're going to use this for, yeah, this one is at least 40 years old. So, but the cool thing is all that time later, it's still working. So we're just going to test our continuity to make sure that between the two magnets that are touching the legs, we have continuity, which we do. A current is able to flow from one magnet to the other. Yeah, the probe leads, definitely you want to replace those. These are newer probe leads. But the meter itself, you know, as long as it's calibrated, which you can always check, a good way to check calibration is just by grabbing your probe leads, touching them together, and as long as it stays below 0.75, you're actually pretty good. No, I didn't use it on the Ark. This came before the Ark, Mad Dog. So, yeah, something that, you know, you don't really see this kind of thing anymore, though, where they have an actual, like, leather case made for them anymore. Now it's just those little fabric things. So, it's a nice little multimeter. So with that, we have the actual clicky part of our clicky probe assembled. So the next thing is our AB assembly. So they kind of show a similar thing here. Now, with this one, this right here is the other reason I had to go to Home Depot today, because this is supposed to fit in here, and then you can use the press to get those magnets in nice and easy. The problem is that, you know, these are 3D printers. We're not, you know, exactly the tightest of tolerances, but it doesn't quite fit in. So the reason I needed to go to Home Depot was to get a set of files, because we can use these files to kind of file away at the inside of our somewhat even, but we can go through the only reason I'm doing this with a file on this stuff is I know this is ABS. If you've made this out of PLA, which you can do, PLA for something like this is perfectly strong and capable. the heat of a file going back and forth too fast can actually start to melt your PLA. It's a problem that I've seen. I have a lot of friends in the cosplay community that they complain about all the time, that, you know, they're going to sand, they made their project out of PLA, and they went to start sanding it, and it just gummed up into little balls and stuff like that. And so, because this is ABS, I have no problem using a file on it. Now, files are quite aggressive compared to something like, say, sandpaper. So you always want to sit here and keep checking your work as you're doing this, because you can always take off just a little bit more. But to add a bit more in, you pretty much have to print a new piece. All I'm doing is I just keep going back, and I'm looking for that better fit. We are starting to get a better fit where it's actually kind of starting to slide in there. You can see, for me to get this out, it's really popping. All right. James has told me not to talk while I'm filing, because apparently it was pretty bad. We're getting there. This went from, hey, I'm not going in at all, to we're slowly making our way in. But I also want to be careful, because I want to take this to the point where I can actually fit this in snugly, but not loose. I mean, Thunder Keys, so far, this, you know, the clicky looks pretty good. It's just a bit of, you know, tolerance issue, where either through over extrusion on one part, or temperature and shipping causing something to melt or something, these pieces just aren't, they're not sliding in and out with a bit of force. As far as the clicky NG that he's talking about in there, I think we have it here, because this is regular clicky and this is clicky NG. I can say the clicky and Thunder Keys, the clicky NG. Oh, you're talking about this little piece, the AB mount and helper for the clicky NG. Is there? Do they show that there? That looks like regular clicky. All right, they don't show the parts on this one, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure which one would be better, but just with a bit of filing, it seems to be opening up. So I'm going to go quiet again real quick as I do some more filing. I was going to say, I would bet that there'd have to be magnets with clicky NG. It's kind of, I'd love to see how they would pick it up without magnets. We're getting closer. Oh. Well, Thunder Keys, I can say if the clicky and G makes this part less unnecessary, I'd go for the clicky and G for the printed part. Let's see here. Okay, I need to get something in there. Push this out. Went a bit too far as I was testing. There we go. Okay. But yeah, no, I would definitely try the non-clicky regular part if this happens quite up. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, Thunder Keys, it's getting resolved. It's just a matter of getting enough tolerance, because I can get it in there, but I'm worried that by forcing it in, when I go to pull it out or push it out, I'm going to break something. And if that happens, that kind of ends the stream, because I don't have a way to print out new parts. So that right there went almost all the way in. So looks like up here I might have a little bit of a lip. Let's go from the other side this time. Well, that definitely snapped in. Let's use our vise to hold that so I can actually get some fingers on here and that snapped in good. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a little bit of a tap. That came out, so well, it's not the easiest to get out. It can still get out, so I'm just gonna Yeah, Mike, if it wasn't plastic, I'd be really going to town on this thing, but unlike a lot of people, I don't have a printer to replace these parts right now. This is me building my printer that can print replacement parts. Okay, so with this, we need our little wire here, and this one is our clicky wire. Oh yeah, believe me, Mike, I was aware that you were joking there, because that's the last thing you want to do with plastic. Let me just crank this thing down all the way. Yeah, that'll be fine. So, all right. Unfortunately, I don't think LDO has a thing for their clicky probe. But I also don't think it matters which side is which for the positive and negative, because you're honestly just looking to break a circuit. That's the way you do it, Mike. But yeah, if torque it down until it cracks and back off a quarter, no, I'm trying to be respectful, because people took a lot of time printing these things out, and I'm enjoying having my build, and I want they took the time to print them. I want to show them the respect of that time. Well, Thunder Keys, that's also nice to know. So, okay, so polarity does not matter. So we're going to take our little leads off. We're going to give these some twist. Make sure that they stay nice and together. Mike, just keep going until Righty becomes Lucy. Oh. James says that's how they do it in the car industry. Okay. So apparently what we need to do here, that hole looks a bit small, so I am going to get that drill bit. Wait, is this printer's not head bolt? Yeah. Yeah, James says just screw it into the gasket's not needed anymore. You'll be fine. Okay. I have a feeling I'm about to go blind. Trying to get this thing go in one hole and out another. Friction welding negates a lot of things, Mike. Okay. Well, that makes that a lot easier. So, for anyone that's building this and doesn't know, sheathing and everything will fit through the one hole. So, That makes it a lot easier to try and bend it over and get it through the other one. All I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to get it. I'm trying to do, you know, the next impossible thing of getting through both holes. Nope. James is loving the "that's what she said" things that I'm saying. Yeah. Pop away. Threading a needle, I think, would be easier. I've threaded many a needle. They make tools for that. Unfortunately, I keep getting like just one little strand caught somewhere on a layer. Which is just annoying. Not difficult, it's just annoying. Like if I go... Let's try to do this one side at a time if we can then. If it doesn't want to go one way, we can pull it through and do it the other way. The big thing is as we're doing this, we need to make sure that we have a very good twist on these wires. Now, typically... Hey, James, do you have a pair of linesman pliers? Typically, if I was doing like actual electrical work, I would have some linesman's pliers that I could really get this wrapped up nice and tight. But I do not have linesman's pliers on me. I think James is going to look to see if he has some. Give me 1 second. I remembered I had the phone Stream Deck app over here. I could need a mic. So those won't do. Those won't clamp down enough. Okay, I now happen to have a drill here, just in case I need to drill out the other side to make my life easier. For getting that in the hole. Are we entertained right now? Haven't seen anybody chat in a while. Oh, and I sat here and didn't catch you come in. PXN America. Hey, Jane. Guess what? This chuck doesn't go small enough. I hear that Mikey's saying he can mute you. Yep. Going into my hand. There we go. James is yelling at me. Telling me to move stuff. Okay. So hopefully let's see here. Question. Who heat bed wires are both white? So I believe, Mad Dog, I am not an expert and I haven't gone that far ahead, but if I'm correct, because the heat bed is just a resistive load, I do not believe that it has a positive and negative side. You really just need it to complete the circuit, and you need one of them to go to the SSR and the other one to go elsewhere. All right, we got one side in. So yeah, that would make sense, Thunder Keys. Get your fuse side to your live. That way, if it does break, it breaks the live sooner. All right, I'm going to try to get this part done and get these magnets in here. But then after we get that done, we will be ending the stream because unfortunately, unlike normal days where I normally have Monday off, I do sit here and have to work tomorrow because my work sat here and gave me Christmas and the day after Christmas off. So yeah, Christmas and Boxing Day off. So, you know, I'm willing to work on my normal day off if I sit here and can take an extra day after Christmas. Yeah, Thunder Keys, Mad Dog has a Seabor kit. I don't know if Seabor labels like LDO does. Okay. So I got the cable through. I'm just kind of trying to get it so that they're bent over. So hopefully that will, yeah. Down under. I'm kind of jealous that you're a teacher. I grew up. My mom was a high school English teacher, and so I got very familiar with teachers having those days off. Okay. So I now have those out so that way the sheathing is just in line with those. When we push our magnets in, we'll have as much contact with that cable as possible. Had a day after Christmas stream? No, I won't be able to do that. That day will be called I'm sleeping off Christmas. Okay. Need to go in this way. Make sure our cable is up there nice and good. I'm gonna flatten out. So what I've done here on the top side is I flattened out the cable so that way hopefully any strain that we put on there does not pull out those cables. So we're going to get that nice and flush. We're going to take that and put that in like so. And that goes there. And then if you look, there's a little cutout notch here. So you can pull that cable aside. So when you're clamping it down, you don't crimp your cables into destruction. Depending on the rage down under, you might do something. Okay. All right. Okay, I know for a fact now that these are lined up, so now it's a matter of getting this thing push in. It looks like, did we get it? The only one that did not go all the way was the back magnet. So we're just gonna take this and give that a little bit of a push. Bye-bye lights. Lights back. So you can see our magnets are now all the way in. They're nice and flush. And then we're going to check Actually, we're not going to have continuity there. But what we can do is take our probes and see if we can get the wire and go from the magnet to the pin up here. Because if we can get continuity there, at least we know. We know that the magnet is making full contact. With that cable. So if everything went as planned, that pin yeah, as James said, I need more hands. Let's try and get this thing out of here. So I can just confirm which side's going where. So back into the vise. All right, so here's the point. Yes, we have continuity there. And on our other magnet, I really do need more hands. We have continuity on both. So that means those magnets are in fact making contact all the way through. So we got our clicky probe done after that nightmare. Okay. I believe that is it for that. So our next step is to get this mounted in. Now, originally they call for M3 by 30, but that's for the thicker Voron probe. So I believe these M3 by 20s are what we use in its place. Let's see here. Down Under Maker, you spent the last 45 minutes not saying much because some prototype drivers killed 2 channels on your octopus board. Ouch! Like I haven't even burned a board yet, and that hurts. Down Under. That just hurts reading. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get, I believe, yeah, after we get this clicky probe mounted in here, the next step or the next part of the build is the tool head. But we are getting up. One printer removed. So what we're going to do is we have our little back, that little tiny back piece that's going to go on the back, and this goes here. This is going to come like so. And I need to grab the right size driver. So I'm getting one side in, almost there. A screw that never ends. And I have the strangest feeling that there's a possibility that these are the wrong screws. Because even though they're shorter than the ones that you would use for the inductive probe, they stick out quite a bit in the back. If anyone does know, down under or anything, I don't think I should have like a good 5 millimeters sticking out the back. Okay, so it doesn't matter if they stick out. Okay. So we'll adjust that height later, but I think that is a good stopping point because our next point that we're going to get to is going to be starting on the toolhead stealth burner. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope that goes through to you. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I hope that goes good or went good. Yeah, I think we've ended Hanukkah. And if you make New Year's resolutions, I hope that goes well for you next year. I hope that you got your New Year's resolution done this year. If you're here and you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. It really does help. We're working on our way to sit here and get to that first goal of 1,000 subs. I'm hoping by the end of the year to get to 100. We've got one more stream to do before that. So it really helps. So other than that, you all have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you're from. And I will see you next Sunday at 7 Eastern Time.